You know what? Talking about Tariq Nasheed, what's your views on Tariq Nasheed? Because he's got this thing called Foundational Black American.
Yeah.
What is that about? Because I feel like that's pure division. If I'm not gonna,
it is. But I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. This is what it is. There were too many black people from outside Africa, from outside America, going to America and playing the arse. And what it is African Americans spotted this and spotted that there's a consistent pattern. Black Caribbeans, black people from Africa going to America and being the arse.
I get what you're saying. I can't disagree. I get what you're saying, but it is any future progress not gonna happen there because black people have never really been together. So I get what you're saying. I get it.
And what the FBA agenda is putting up a wall and saying, no, you guys can't be a part of this if you're going to be on that, raccoon train.
And see, what Robin Walker is getting at is the behavior of a lot of non-FBA, non-ADOS, non-Black American people who come to America. They're black people, but they come to America from other places. And like he said, he used the term playing the ass. Their behavior is unbecoming. Their behavior is unproductive. Their behavior is divisive. And so that leads us to where we are here today in Black Americans saying we're not going to go for the disrespect anymore from you. But that does not mean, in my opinion, that should not break out into all-out diaspora war, Black Americans against everybody else. That's unproductive. But those who have been disrespectful, you got to get called out, and your behavior has to change.
When you say playing the ass, what? Because from what I know, a lot of Africans, a lot of Caribbeans who go there, academically, they're surpassing them. And also business-wise, they're surpassing them. So who was playing the ass?
When they then use that to say, well, that means that you African Americans are lazy. Do you see? Yes. And then being on some right-wing conservatism, let's throw African Americans under the bus.
That is true.
Let's pretend that Jim Crow didn't happen, redlining didn't happen, breaking up of African American business districts, breaking up of African American families. The COINTELPRO didn't happen. The Iran Contras and then moving drugs into the black community didn't happen. Yeah. And there's a whole list of things continuing right up until now that the American government has done to African Americans. And so for those black people recently arrived from outside America, you all didn't face any of that. So of course you're going to be doing better than African Americans. Duh.
Yeah.
But what's happening is a lot of the people outside Black America don't respect that.
Well, see, and that's a great point that Robin Walker is making. All of the strife that Black American people have faced from white America, from slavery to sharecropping to Jim Crow to all of the racism, redlining, welfare programs, all of the systematic things that were put in place to keep the Negro in this place. Like Neely Fuller says, white supremacy affects all 9 areas of human activity: education, economics, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, war, right? All those areas were affected by white supremacists, but somehow we mustered up the gall to create and have the little that we do have. But the little that we do have is enough to positively affect the rest of the world and influence the rest of the world. Let's not act like, because they say Black Americans have no culture, but Afro beats exist. Afro beats don't exist if Fela Kuti don't get influenced by Black American artists. I was looking at something the other day and they were talking about Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah came to America and was educated at these HBCUs and took that education and those cultural influences back to his country and got independence. It's when I hear people say we have no culture, it's showing their ignorance. They don't read. They clearly don't read. They clearly don't read. But also they come to America and they look down on us. Once again, it is them having the behavior patterns of white supremacists. Yeah, I said it. Having the behavior patterns and the thoughts and the ideologies of white supremacists. Let's let Robin cook though, because they are playing the ass. You got a lot of them playing the ass.
And so while I'm not about division, I can't pretend to not know why Tariq Nasheed said that.
Yeah.
I can't pretend not to know why some other people are running with ADOS.
What's that one?
ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves.
You're saying no, he didn't. That's a lie. You're saying no, he didn't. To what?
Okay.
They're on the same agenda as FBA, trust me.
But they're separate.
Well, one is run by Tariq, one is run by somebody else. I think there's somebody else is Yvette Carnell, something like that.
Then you got the Black Hebrew Israelites, then you got the ones who say they're Native Americans and they were there before. Sometimes I just feel it's like there's too many categories and too many groups to like really know what is really going on.
There is, and my job is very, very much to bring clarity. I am the Black History Man. My job is to bring clarity. And I do believe there is a position that all of us can agree upon.
Yeah.
And that's the vision of history that I've been working on since I've been writing. And it could put the FBAs, the ADOS, Black people from outside America, Black people in Africa. I've just spent 2.5 weeks in Ethiopia. Put all of us on the same side with pretty much the same vision of history, with pretty much the same pride in our history. And it can be done. It's not a hard thing to do. But I do understand and respect the differences, because I can see why a person from one country doesn't see it the same way as a person from another country.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too, like what he's explaining, because cultural differences are recognized everywhere except for Black America. Because apparently our culture doesn't exist, and our culture has to be attached to something else, because we can't be a group of people who could develop culture within ourselves and of ourselves and for ourselves, which is ignorant. And that's what it's getting at. Like, all groups of people create culture for themselves. That doesn't mean your culture can be influenced by others, by other things. You can have things injected into your culture, but Black America has a culture, just like there's a Garifuna culture, just like there's a Haitian culture, a Jamaican culture, Cuban culture, Dominican culture. Like, all groups of people throughout the African diaspora have culture. It's silly the idea that we're just the only ones who are absent of culture. That's silly, because people create culture.
Yeah, I agree. I want to touch on the whole Caribbeans and Africans academically and business-wise doing better.
Now listen to this.
First, you mentioned something. No, sorry, I mentioned something that just sparked a thought. Hold
on, before you get to this, nobody's saying that the culture that you are a part of is not doesn't have some kind of influences from somewhere. But to say that because it has influences from others, then therefore those people have no culture. Because go tell the Mexicans they have no culture, because they have Spanish influence. Go tell the Mexicans they have no culture. They have Spanish influence, right? Go tell the Haitians they have no culture. There's French influence. Go tell Jamaicans they have no culture. It's British influence. I'm just saying.
African people in the Americas before the European invasion?
That's a complicated story, but generally speaking, I think the evidence is quite strong that the answer is yes.
Okay.
Does it mean that the bulk of African Americans were there before Europeans? Of course not.
Okay.
Does it mean that Black Americans today are descended from this bulk population that was there before Europe? No. Yeah. But was there nobody there? Here's the issue, you see. There was a very famous artifact that was found. I mean, I say artifact, fossil that was found. It was found in Brazil, and the scholars gave her the name Luzia, Luzia. She's thought to be the first human being, modern human type of human, discovered in South America. You'd expect her to have been a Native American, right?
Mm-hmm.
She turned out to be Black.
Okay.
And there's been all kinds of, well, how do we explain this? Well, how do we explain this? Well, how do we explain this?
No, you can't create culture, but you are descendants of Africans because your ancestors were in the same for white. Technically, everybody's descendants from Africa. Technically, if we want to be technical, everybody's descendants of Africans, technically.
Well, there's no way you can get around the fact that certainly the first modern human South American that we can point to is this fossil Luzia. Now, but this is South America. What does this tell us about North America? No one really wants to go there. So I'm going to leave North America blank.
Okay.
Because we need more evidence to be able to answer that question. But the Luzia find is, should we say, inconvenient. But you can't pretend it's not there.
Inconvenient for who?
It changes the dynamics.
Okay.
Because now what does it mean if you call somebody a Native American? Who exactly are you speaking about?
And see, what Robert Walker is getting at is basically skeletal remains of an African person have been found in the Americas, because the idea was, the whole idea is all Black people in the U.S. and specifically North America, the U.S., are of slave descent. And there have been talk that no, there have been Native African or Native Black people here before anybody else showed up, or even in the times of other people. So before pre-Columbus, before the Columbus era, there were African people in the Americas. Once again, nobody's denying the connection to Africa, but we've been here so long, we're Black Americans. Because you're not going to tell the Aboriginals of Australia that they're not Aboriginals. You're not going to tell them that. Like the arguments that you have for us, they don't have them for other people whose story is similar to ours, if not the same.
It confuses the game in a very, very big way.
The cast was then given to Richard Neve of the University of Manchester in England, one of the world's leading forensic artists, to recreate her features.
That to me is a Negroid face that has all the features that you associate with a Negroid face. The proportions of the face, it doesn't say anything about it being Mongoloid.
Was this then the face of a first American? Her reconstruction is confirmed by measurements Walter Nevis has taken of all his skulls.
The first reaction was not to believe in it. But as the results, repeated so many times, and the result is exactly the same thing. They are very similar to now.
Even our own historians have documented that Africans have been a part of the slave trade. We didn't start it. Africans didn't start it, but Africans did participate in it. Even one, look up Tipple Tip. Tipple Tip is one of the main African slave traders that they talk about. Tipple Tip.
Nowadays, Aborigines and Africans, and no similarity at all with Mongoloids in Asia or with American Indians.
Now, I want to touch on the Caribbeans and the Africans who go to America and excel academically and excel business-wise. We know the reason why, because you just explained it in terms of some of the deprivations and the intentional, stifling of the Black American family, Black American business, and you name it. But not all of them can be affected by this. There's always got to be certain people who rise above it, regardless of what the situation is. It's just the natural nature thing. Weeds grow through gardens, you name it. Why do you think it is that a country like Jamaica or Africa, where they too have had their deprivations, had their colonialism, had their slavery, why do they go somewhere and tend to excel amongst people who also have gone through it?
Because you're not comparing like with like, that's why.
Okay.
A lot of us think we are comparing like with like. You're not. Let me explain. Generally speaking, Caribbeans in America, not the ones in the Caribbean, but the ones in America, will represent the top 10%.
I see.
So if you're really going to compare like with like, you have to compare the top 10% of Caribbeans with the top 10% of African Americans.
Okay.
And when you compare the two, the African Americans are slaughtering us, bro. It's not even close. It's a massacre. But what it is we compare the top 10% with your average African American.
One of the great challenges in this world is knowing enough about a subject to think you're right.
You're not comparing like with like. And if you compare your average African American, you're 51, you got 1 to 100 and Mr. number 51. Number 51 is richer by a factor of 20 than your average Jamaican. Do you see? So what happens is it's a perception thing. Now, let's be clear. We can all point to people from outside America. Go to America and rise. Colin Powell did that. Kamala Davy Harris has done that, whatever. But you can't pretend that's typical. Do you see?
Yeah.
But what happens is because we live in a world where people don't really have full pictures, you can take the exception, use that to smack around African Americans' faces. This guy just got off the boat. He's doing better than you. Not realizing, but for my man to have got on the boat in the first place, he wasn't typical of the country that he was coming from. He was in the top echelons of that country. Do you see?
Yeah.
And the same is true also with people from Africa going to Black America. So if we're going to compare the top 10%, let's compare the top 10%. And when we do that, African Americans are slaughtering us. There are, you see, I was fortunate in visiting Black America. My book, When We Ruled, there's an American edition.
Okay.
And I invited myself to my publisher's house in America, William Paul Coates. You might know his son, Ta-Nehisi Coates.
No.
Ta-Nehisi Coates, he's a commentator. If you Google him, he's a big figure.
Okay.
So what happened was me and a friend, we invited ourselves to my man's house. And so I got to see how that segment of African Americans were living. They were living large, bro.
Yeah, because I know they've got some serious high society, and they've got their own versions of country clubs and gentlemen's clubs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And the other difference, of course, as well that we have to acknowledge is, unlike Europe, America's a very right-wing country. So Europe, there's a sense of, we can't just let people starve. In America, they don't have that. In Europe, there's a sense of, someone had an accident, let's take them to the hospital. In America, first question, are they insured? So America doesn't have any social safety net. And so consequently, if you're a poor African American, you fend for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a very, very good point.
Yeah.
That's actually a very good point. Now,
well, it's context. A lot of the rhetoric that is going back and forth is people being fueled by emotions and a lack of thought, a lack of contemplating, a lack of critical thinking, a lack of research, a lack of backing up their thoughts and feelings with actual information, realistic information. I'm even looking at some of the comments, right? We all have been at points in our lives where we were miseducated and misguided, and we were in the parroting stage. So we would repeat a lot of what we heard because the way it was told to us, it sounded so right. It sounded so true. And it's buried in lies and deceit and misconceptions. And then the narratives are carried on and 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 on. And it just blows up to what it is now. And the idea, like, I'm glad Robin Walker said what he said, because the idea is, Black Americans are lazy. Everybody comes from another country and outdo Black Americans. And I've always been like, nah, I don't believe that. You can't tell me, like, as a whole, like, these people are coming and doing better than Black Americans as a whole. Like, nah, we doing some amazing things over here. Now, this point, I appreciate the comment, but it's a moot point to what Robin was saying, to the point Robin was making, because he wasn't necessarily saying that, yeah, Black Americans are boule sellouts. But what he's saying is the 10% of Black Americans are still doing better than 10% of the Nigerians or the Ghanaians or any other Africans or Caribbeans that come over. They're still doing better. And does their proximity to whiteness help? Yes. But aren't the other groups coming here fighting for that same proximity to whiteness? Because I started off the show by saying, I believe that's one of the factors that go into these diaspora wars. Other groups of people coming here and understanding that white people have the power and resources and they want to be next to the white people. Remember the video of the young lady saying that, yes, they want white proximity. They want white proximity. Like, don't sleep on Black Americans. Do not sleep on us, right? Black Americans are very productive. Now, is the production helping Black America in the long run? No, but Black Americans are very productive. But we all know, you put a Black American in the space, give them the resources, no restrictions, and we will do amazing things. But I think that's the same true for all African people. I'm not here to throw fuel on the fire of the diaspora wars, but I am here to call out the bull. I am here to wag my finger back at Black Americans, Black Africans, Black Caribbeans, Black Central Americans, Black South Americans who are throwing the fuel on the fire of the diaspora wars. We should be coming together and working together rather than fighting against each other. But the ignorance has to stop. I need for my Africans, my Caribbeans, my Central and South Americans to start, damn it, reading. Start reading. Please, you're going to have to start reading, because the ignorance is not helping.